G'day everyone, welcome to the most recent edition. It's round 19 of the National Rugby League. It's NRL Market Watch. It's proudly brought to you by topsport.com.au. They are the home of the best multis. It's the usual suspects who are in attendance today. Just remember, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, you can do it. You can do it by Spotify, Apple, Whooshka, wherever it is you get your podcast. You can watch us on YouTube. Why you'd want to do that, heaven would only know. I'm talking about Tristan Merlehan, the number one seed at Top Sport. I'm talking about Gerard Condon. He's from readingtheplay.com.au. It's almost a red letter day based on our tips from last week. Gentlemen, it's good to be back for this podcast. And Tristan, it's even better to have a double win in a lunch bet.
It absolutely is. And when the high-flying Top Sport Titans get the job done as well, it makes it feel even better. So there was a lot of celebration there in the lounge on Saturday night after rolling in and celebrating that performance. But as you say, boys, we hit a very good milestone on the back of our punting and our donations for the losing lunch bet, which obviously I've contributed a fair amount to that over the course of the season. We've got the figure over 10,000 for the first time this week. So we're up to 10,150. And yeah, there was some really good results there. The Roosters minus 8.5. We had the staking plan of Gerard of the 100 on the nose, so to speak. And then the 50-50 staking plan of the 8.5 and the 13 plus, which netted a little bit more cash for the account. And then the Raiders got the job done, which they won head-to-head and also plus the 12 flat. So, yeah, we got a very nice collect there, 10,154 in the kitty as we speak.
Well, Jimmy, you can almost tell that Tristan does have a spring in his step, and he's talking about what a great result it was with the Titans. Just looking at the score, I think they still got beat, didn't they?
If you win at the line and you're a Titan supporter, that's a win. All right.
Yeah, and we got the double no streakers, so it was a great result.
Yes, well, and what a great result for Pass It On Clothing. We had Jimmy and I tipping in with the lunch bet. Jimmy will give a score up there, but for us to get over $10,000 in just 6 months, I know Chris and the team are cock a hoop about that. And, just keep in mind, Pass It On Clothing, folks, there they were in the pouring rain in Martin Place last night, still out there looking after the homeless and less fortunate in and around Sydney.
Yeah, I embarrassed myself, didn't I? I was on a phone call with Gerard and Chris yesterday. Gerard said, it sounds like you're in traffic. I said, yeah, it's traffic. There's traffic everywhere and it's raining and, it's terrible. And Chris said to me, Jimmy, you're in a car and you're dry, which reinforced the great work that they do. Absolutely incredible. So, yes, just another embarrassment for me in the long list. Yeah, so 5 from 5 collects. We've got to put the $50 each in for Gerard and I. So there we go, over 10,000. Lunch bet score, Gerard +1. I'm back to 0. And Tristan rocketing up to -6, which is absolutely fantastic. So well done on that, Tristan. So getting more involved too, which I think is going to be a good thing. We'll get to round 19 very shortly. We want to remind you again, the inaugural Top Sport Market Watch lunch, raising money for Chris and the team at Pass It On Clothing. Friday, the 9th of September at Dick's Hotel at Balmain, $125 a ticket, 2-course lunch, 3-hour bar, donation to Pass It On Clothing. James Graham, special guest speaker. We'll have raffle items. We'll have auction items. We might even hear from I was going to call it an esteemed panel. Let's just call it a panel from the NRL Market Watch podcast. So full steam ahead with that, boys, which is exciting.
I was going to say, Jimmy, I didn't think we had the budget to get together an esteemed panel, so I'm glad you qualified that. But no, it should be a really good day. I know there's a lot of people I've spoken to that are very excited to get down and rip in, have a good time. So yeah, looking forward. I think James Graham's going to be a very, very good guest speaker as well.
Well, the other thing too is we touched yesterday. We won't give it away, but we touched yesterday on the 3 auction items that we're going to have, which are each NRL collector's items, and I would be very happy to have any one of those 3 hanging on my wall in the future. They're 3 great prizes. And Jimmy, I think we're over 25% of tickets already sold. So that's also great in itself, in that we only just released the details last weekend. You can now book in different tables, but 25% of them sold. We're capped at a certain number. So once we get there, it's all sold out and it'll be for a great cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. All right, let's get into it, hey. We've got round 19. This is the run home. This is when it gets really funky, and we can't wait because there's some very important matches coming up this week and in the coming weeks as well. So let's have a look at round 19. Starts Thursday night, Eels v Broncos. Ryan Madison returns from a rib injury. Murata Neokura back to the bench. Kai Rodwell drops out to 18th man for the Broncos. Kevy Walters confirming Payne Haas will play. Corey Oates, Kurt Capewell, Pat Carrigan return from their post-origin rest. Jake Turpin and Corey Pack split the hooking role with that injury to Billy Walters. This is a really important game for both these clubs, Tristan.
Oh, massive game for both these clubs. And I know we jest about the Top Sport Titans, but the Broncos winning that game up here in front of a very, very big crowd with all of those players out was a really good performance there. And I think it shows the quality of the club, how they've sort of moved forward over the last 12 months. They're sitting fifth, and with the Storm wobbling a little bit, they'll be fancying their chances to get a result and move into the top four, as will the Eels. So this game sees the Eels $1.58, the Broncos $2.40, a flat for the line, and 41.5 the total points. We opened the market at 5.5, and it's been backed into 4. So there's been good support for the Broncos, both at the head-to-head and the plus. So I think this is a really crucial game, considering the Broncos have a pretty tough, the Storm have a pretty tough battle coming up later in the round.
Very interesting game, isn't it? I'm a bit surprised at the money that's come for the Broncos in the last couple of days, because it wouldn't be on the back of major team changes, because we all expected most of what's been named here, notably that the Origin players were back, but also that Haas would be playing. But there certainly has been a move for them. Parramatta, pretty much at full strength. They've been in camp all this week. Normally that's a good sign of how serious this game is for them. They come off playing low-table teams and scraping home. Their record at covering the line is not flash, but they do have a very good record over the Broncos. Won 6 of the last 7. Now, the Broncos until earlier in this season were very poor travelling to Sydney, but they have picked up a couple of wins when doing that, but not against the Eels over recent years. Looks a cracking game. I'm with the Eels. I think the home ground advantage, I think what we'll see is a damp track. The Broncos are going to want to play a little bit of football to try and open things up and get some advantage. But I do think the Eels at home with a big physical pack, I think they probably just get away with the game.
Yeah, interesting that line has moved too, because I'm a bit like you, Tristan. I was really impressed with what the Broncos did last week. Been really impressed, and they have to do it in different ways too, right? That's the impressive thing about them. Against the Dragons, second half blows them away with some really attractive footy, and then they're able to hang tough in that game against the Titans as well. The Eels, wow, like this off-field stuff, it's not helping. So when I say off-field, I'm talking about Brad Arthur and the distraction around that. I'm talking about Mitchell Moses and death threats to his family. That's really, really disconcerting on a number of levels. But it's one of those situations with Brad Arthur that can get out of control. I don't know where it's come from. I don't know what's been going on there, but it's dangerous for your team trying to find some consistent footy. I think really tight game. I love the +4.5. I think the +4.5 for the Broncos is where I would go in this one. But they have to slay a few demons, don't they? Because it was, 58-0 in a semi-final at CommBank Stadium against the Parramatta Eels. That's some time ago. This is a very different side. The inclusion of Carrigan and Haas give me confidence that they can hold that Parramatta pack. So that's where I'm going, Broncos +4.5. No interest in a lunch bet, Jared?
Very tempting, Jimmy, but no, not this one.
Okay, no problem. Keep your powder dry. Let's go to Friday night, first game. Now, there's another important game. Moses Mbye into the starting side. Moses Sully, ankle injury, out after that game against the Roosters. Tarek Sims back from suspension. Aaron Woods drops to 18th man for the Seagulls. Jake Trbojevic out with COVID. Tofafoa Sipley into the starting side. Taniela Paseka onto the interchange bench. Now, there's speculation around Andrew Davey about whether he's going to be there, Ethan Bullimore or Ben Trbojevic potentially coming into the side as well. This is another one of these important, fascinating games, Tristan.
Yeah, it's and there's been a bit of moving and shaking around the team list here, where we originally opened the market at 2.5, and there was a push out to 4 for Manly. And then with the Jake Trebojevic news, it just dropped back into 3.5. But at the 3.5, there's been steady support again for Manly. So it's $2.42, the Dragons, $1.57, the Seagulls, 3.5 the line. This is a huge game out there at Jubilee Stadium. Obviously, both sides lurking around the bottom of that 8. The Dragons were going all right for a while there. They'd won 4 out of their last 5, I think, but dropping the last 2 in pretty ordinary circumstances has certainly put the heat up. And you talked about off-field issues there, Jimmy, in the Parramatta game. There's certainly been a lot surrounding the Dragons with Hook in recent days. So a lot of pressure there. Manly just snuck back into the 8. They're sitting there, but if they lose here, pressure comes back onto them. So 3.5 being a good push for the Miners. So I probably expect that line to get back out to 4.
Well, and at Cogra, where the Dragons have a very good record over the Eagles, won 6 of the last 8 that they've played head-to-head, and won 6 of the last 8 when they've played at Cogra. And teams coming off, having 50 put through them the week before, have a very, very good record the following week of covering the line. But I can't touch the Dragons. Those last 2 weeks, the second half in both of those games, to concede a total of 86 points is just horrible. Losing Surly, some of the selections, really hard to follow. The other worry about them is, where do their points come? I know they came up with 26 last week against the Roosters, but I'm not sure that they can go with Manly if Manly want to play the style of football that they've played in each of their last 3 games, in particular over the Storm and then over the Knights. I know the Knights are at the bottom of the table, but they're somewhere around the market where the Dragons have been the last couple of weeks. Very important. There's only 2 points between them. It's literally a 4-point game, if not more, for the Eagles. I think their attack wins in the game. If they can get themselves going, if the track's not too damp, and get a 2 or 3 try margin, I really do think the Dragons struggle, because I'm just not sure mentally that they're all that strong at the moment.
It's going to be fascinating, this finish to the season of the Dragons, isn't it? They're just falling away, and we know it can happen quickly, and it doesn't have to be far before you're not all of a sudden competitive in the National Rugby League. If Ben Hunt didn't play last week, we're all laughing about, hey, we got that right with the -8.5 and the 13+, but it was 14-12 at half time. The game was there for them to win, but the game itself was the Roosters out to 12-0. And Ben Hunt dragged the Dragons back into it, literally scored the try, kicked the 40-20, got the try assist for the next one, was basically playing them on his own. And this was 72 hours after an Origin game or less. Was amazing. So he's good. Guess what, Ben? You've got to do it all again this time around, Jared.
Well, he's been instrumental, hasn't he, Jimmy? And if we go back 4 games ago, they absolutely whacked South. At home, at the Gong. The first half was very impressive. Since then, they've been treading water. You touch on their run home. Well, last year, they lost their last 10 to absolutely crash and burn their season. A big watch now with the pressure that's surrounding some of the focus here. Having lost 2 now, if they do start the slide, what then unfolds?
No barbecue at Vorney's this year, so I guess that's a positive. But the Seagulls, they're amazing last week. Thank heavens for Anthony Griffin and the Dragons for Adam O'Brien, because the 42-12, the Seagulls, Daly Cherry Evans, I know it's different when you win, but he comes out after, again, a tough Origin match and plays superbly, and Foran plays well. And all these guys, Ruben Garrick, people talking about him and what the representative might hold for him, representative honours, but they're just humming. The 3.5 is not enough for me. I think Manly can be very comfortable in that. I've lost all faith in the Dragons. All right, let's have a look at the Friday night game. This is an absolute beauty as well. So Knights and the Roosters. Knights got it all to play for. They won earlier this year. Dominic Young looking to be back. He's got that rib injury. Edric Lee's got the foot injury. He's been named as well. Kurt Mann joins the bench. He's been out with the leg injury, apparently right to play. For the Roosters, this is really interesting. Okay, so Luke Keary back from concussion. Jared Warrior-Hargreaves back from the hamstring. Matt Lodge into the starting side. Joey Manu back to the centres. Billy Smith out. Satili Tupanua out as well. So that's significant. How's this one shaping up for the Knights at home, Tristan?
Yeah, I'm tipping if Adam O'Brien could could have turned back time to round one when these two teams met prior, he would be very happy to do so, because that was one of the biggest upsets at the start of the season. And they go in at a similar sort of price. They're $3.80 underdogs. The Roosters are now $1.27, 11.5. This has been absolute one-way traffic for the Roosters. It's gone 8.5 out to 11.5. They looked back to close to their best there against the Dragons last start. I'm interested to see that form line, but they need to keep winning, the Roosters, and I think they're going to put the foot down here. They're not going to take any of these teams lightly. Even if they get out to a lead, they're going to keep that foot down, because they need to keep winning and make sure their for and against is in a good spot. So 11.5, 43.5 the total points. I guess the Knights at home is probably the only thing. Will they lift, and will they be able to match it in the forward pack like they did in round one? But it certainly looks like the Roosters will be very hard to beat.
Well, and a key point there about the Knights at home, it's just turned to rubbish for them this season. They've lost 6 of the last 7 there, and those 6 that they've lost have all been 13 plus or more margins. A couple of those absolute big floggings, such as when they met Penrith only a few weeks ago. Not a lot to like about the Knights or what they're doing at the moment. That was a good side that they rolled out last week, yet we're just not competitive at all. Jimmy, I think there's a major question from what different reports during the week about whether Frizzell will be right here, whether Lee plays. If that's the case, well, there's another 2 key outs. I thought last week that the Roosters looked absolutely primed to come back off that bye and really focus on this run home. They got the hippie shakes going in the half time, but then I thought a very good half time came out and clearly just went whack in the second half. They're very good at beating these teams lower down the table, below them. I know the Knights got them back in round one, but the Knights' other 4 wins have all been against teams at the bottom of the table. I think they aim up here. I think there's key ins. I like Keary back at 6. 2 big boys in the middle. That's where they'll trouble the Knights and open things up. I think the Roosters by a margin, 8.5, always looked way too low. It's now 11.5. I think by game time on Friday, it's going to be somewhere north of 12.5. And I think the Roosters probably cover that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You think, oh, but the Knights at home. Well, statistically, that hasn't borne out this year, has it? So that's supposedly a positive for them. You look at their side. You're right, Jared. It's a very strong side on paper. This side is. It's interesting. Daniel Saifudi's in the starting side, but Jacob was in the State of Origin squad. Kalen Ponga there at the back, but conversely, the Roosters, James Tedesco played 80 minutes last week after that Origin game. So did Angus Crichton. And they're not just out there just doing their job. Like, they're near enough to the best players on the field each time. Joey Manu was the best player on the field. So how Trent Robinson gets him into the game when he's playing in that centre position, that'll be really interesting as well. But I like the fact it's so subtle, but I think it's important. Sam Walker is 7 and Luke Keary is 6. I think Luke Keary is a 6. Sam Walker strikes me as that halfback. Like, that's, it's his team, so give him the team and give him the number 7 jersey. That just has a better feel to it. And Matthew Lodge, in the space of that game time that he had last week, showed how, and this is going to be interesting, you're not often you use the word astute and Matthew Lodge in the same sentence, but that's exactly what he is. So you see why Torquiaho, an injury, won't be out too long, but what a replacement coming in with Matthew Lodge. I agree, Jared. I think the 11.5 is not enough. First game on Saturday. This will be an interesting one. They're always tight. Invariably, Sean Johnson heavily involved in finding the winner too. So Raiders and the Warriors at GIO Stadium. Nick Kotrick is back for the suspended Jordan Rapana. Albert Hopewate comes in to replace James Schiller. Elliot Whitehead is returning from a knee injury. So Corey Hadawira-Naira goes back to the bench. Reece Walsh, he's been bumped to the bench. So this is Dejanasi, preferred at 5'8". And that means that Chanel Harris-Tavita goes to the back for the Warriors. So Stacey Jones trying to work out what works for him over there. But based on what they did last week for you, Tristan, not for anyone else, surely the Raiders get this done.
You'd think so. And they're a funny side of the Raiders, though, that they have the capability of really lifting for those big games. And then I think this 6 week period sums up their form line, where they sometimes don't put the weaker sides to the sword. And on paper at $1.31, the Raiders, 350 the Warriors, and 10.5 the line. On face value, you think after their performance against the Storm, with everything to play for, with their 1 win out of the 8, with a lot of momentum, they should be winning this game. They should be winning it comfortably, but you just can't trust the Raiders at this short price. The Warriors, well, we've spoken many times. It's very hard to trust them, and obviously there seems to be a bit happening with Reece Walsh dropping back to that bench. So 10.5's the line. If the Raiders turn up and play like they did last week and like they have over a number of their games over the last 6 weeks, they should be putting a number on here, but I just don't have confidence in either side at the moment.
Yeah, I was nearly very close, and I'm still tempted by that 10.5. I think the Raiders back at home have got a really strong position here. That was a very strong win. I thought they were just a little bit missing in the first 8 to 10 minutes last week, and the Storm were very quick and up-tempo with the football, and then the Raiders just got themselves going into the game, and as the game went on, got stronger. And I like the fact that Whitehead's back. I thought Sebastian Chris had a really good game last week. He is such a big, powerful centre down that left edge for them. The young fellow on the right edge, Tomoko, he's just been flying under the radar this season. He's had a fantastic year. I think the combination of Fogarty and Whiten's working very well. If we go back their last 2 games at home, the Raiders, they had a win over the Knights, and prior to that, a very important win over the Roosters. I think that they dust the Warriors up here. Warriors travelling out of New Zealand 2 weeks in a row, always something I like to oppose. I'm just not sure that 10.5's enough.
Reece Walsh bumped to the bench too, so you know what's going on there. We know he's going back to the Broncos, but the bloke they put there, Chanel Harris-Tavita, well, he's going riding and travelling. So it makes it hard, doesn't it? I thought the Warriors' performance, the effort against the Parramatta Eels was really good. You know, and there were some things to like about it, but yeah, it's too much to play for the Raiders. They need to do things really well from a for and against point of view. So that's got to be first and foremost in your mind. I agree. Fogarty has surprised me the way he's played. He's actually a really good foil for the way that Jack Whiten plays as 5'8". So I think that works as well. And I'm sure all the Top Sport Titan fans are there going, there he goes. He played well again. And then the other thing is they've re-signed some players. Zach Wolford gets an extension. Schiller gets an extension. Matty Frawley's there, and I'm trying to think of the other one that got another couple of years as well. Ada Mariotta, who's one of the younger guys. So that's all positive for within the squad as well. Yeah, I'm with the Raiders at the line there, Gerard.
Jimmy, I'm not sure if you missed it, but apparently on NRL 360 last night, one of the cheerleaders was talking up that Ricky's also got an extension.
Yeah, Ricky's extended. Paul Crawley announcing that, of course. So what have we gone from? Grand finalists in 19, 5th in 10, in 20, 10th, and now currently sitting 10th. So not many other coaches could miss the 8 twice. He hasn't done it yet, but missed the 8 twice and still get the extension. Not 1 year, 2 years. So we'll see. Now, what's really interesting is the negotiation. Ricky, on the record, I'm not coaching against the Raiders. I'm not going anywhere. Surely you lowball him, right? Surely you lowball him. Anyway.
Well, it's his best mate doing the contract negotiation.
Oh, Gerard, come on. That's most unusual. Anyway. All right. Let's go Saturday. It's out at Penrith Stadium, the Panthers and the Sharkies. Here's another beauty of a game. All those Origin players are back for the Panthers. I'm not sure we've got time to name them, but anyway. Stephen Crichton, Brian Tottle, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Api Coruscant, Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo, all coming into that starting side as well. For the Sharkies, I thought they were excellent last week. Talakai back in the centres. After picking up that shoulder injury. Connor Tracy out to the wing. Sione Katoa, he's out for the rest of the season with some shoulder surgery. He is a loss. There's no doubt about that. But this is another cracking game, Tristan.
Oh, it is. It is. And I think there's a chance this could be a grand final preview here because the Sharkies are going very, very well. So the Cowboys, I think the Storm is starting to wobble a little bit. But I think there's a chance, and it's a little bit ominous that Panthers are $1.24 favourites. The Sharks $4.10 and the Lions 12.5 in a game where it is probably first numbers 2, 3, or 4. So Penrith is certainly good. They've got all their players back there. They're going to be primed for a big effort to a lot of these guys to bounce back from the Origin loss. So 12.5's the line, 14.5. We know how good they are at home. I threw up a market today as well. Panthers versus the field for the premiership, where Penrith's $1.95. You can back anyone else in the comp at $1.85 if you think Penrith are going to fall over at the last hurdle.
That's a nice market. I think I'll be on the $1.85.
Gerard, where are you? $1.95,
I'm on the $1.85.
You are prepared to nominate which team?
No.
Right.
I'll just be hoping for one of them to bob up. Might be an interesting September. Very interesting market, this 12.5 between them. Now, the Sharks have won their last 5. I do think they've had a couple of games go their way in the last couple of weeks, but some positive form. What they did with the football, in particular in the first half against the Storm, was very good. They got the Cowboys the right week with numerous outs, but they still went on with the game and a long distance travel. But this is a different gravy. You know, the Panthers have been the benchmark, even money favourites to win the competition. Damn good test for them. I do think 12.5 looks about right. The Panthers, everybody back on deck. We know their record at Penrith Park is obscene. I think they've had one loss in nearly 3 years. Cracking game. Really is a good matchup. I do favour the Panthers, and I think that market's probably about right. Somewhere between 10 to 12, I'd expect that the Panthers are winning.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, that this could be a grand final matchup, and that we've got a team there that's as short, and the line is 12.5. But I actually think the line's not enough. I actually think that those guys who played for the Penrith and didn't win, right? So these guys who played for New South Wales, they got something to prove. You know, that the pride was taken down a notch. So Cleary, Luai, To'o, Yo, they come out at home and say, righto, let's reassert ourselves as the premiership heavyweights that we know that we are. Sharks, on the other hand, I thought, they played well against the Cowboys. Matty Moylan's been playing really nicely again. However, that no try to Jason Taumalolo, that was absolutely crucial. It's ridiculous that it was given as a no try, but it was a crucial moment in the match. It was a wrong decision. And then from that point, they never quite recovered, the Cowboys. So, I Panthers at home at the minus 12.5. That'd be the way that I'd be heading in that one. All right, let's have a look at the next game. It's going to be a Saturday night clash. This is interesting, the head-to-head record between these two clubs. Very different story on this occasion, though. Damien Cook, Cam Murray, both back. Davey Moala and Saliva Havili back to the bench. Daniel Saluka Fafita is out of the team. Jed Cartwright into the centres. Tane Milne dropping out. Ryan Pappenhausen, we know, is out. Nick Meaney to fullback. Tyron Wishart onto his wing. Grant Anderson onto the bench following that elbow injury. And maybe the way that bench looks, Coach Bellamy might make a bit of a change on that one. The interesting is the head-to-head, Tristan, with this one and their record over the years.
Yeah, it is. And there's been a massive go for the Rabbitohs. So the line opened up at 3.5, the Storm favourites. They're now getting close to pick 'em. The Bunnies have been backed into $2, the Storm $1.82, and the line's 1.5. So it shifted 2 points downwards, 41.5 the total points. But wow, Souths look a completely different side with Latrell up the back. He's obviously very focused with his words about the New South Wales jersey as well. So I think it's going to be a beauty because Souths are in very good form. The Storm are very much wobbling. Like for them to drop their recent games and then to lose that game against Canberra when they got back to hit the front with a player sin bin, it's a very un-Melbourne-like effort. So they need to bounce back here because their spot in the top 4 is very vulnerable at the moment. And if they don't win this game, there's going to be a lot of pressure coming at them from a lot of different angles. So very tight betting game. It'll be interesting if this money continues and South start favourite.
I think they will. They've been truckloading it for a couple of days. Let's touch on their record. 18 of the last 20, the Storm have won. That's one hell of a hold over an opponent. The 2 out of the 20 that the Rabbitohs have won have both been at Homebush, where this game is this week. So their record there and those 2 wins, and then the last 3 weeks with Latrell being back and that winning form and the way that they've accelerated in periods of games away from their opponents. has just been very impressive. I think they are almost a standout here, and I'm very tempted to want to be all over the +1.5 or just take the $2. I think the Storm are in a world of pain at the moment. They've got something like 10 out. Their back five is absolutely smashed. I don't see where and how they defend. I think they're going to have massive issues holding Cody Walker and Latrell, and then how they use that football. On the back of that, they're then so reliant on their 7, their 6, and their 9. They've got no Brandon Smith. I think that they're a big man short in the middle, because I don't like it when Nelson starts. I think he's much, much better suited coming into the game at about the 20-minute mark and then having a bit of an impact. Last time that Storm lost 4 in a row, gentlemen, was June 2015, 7 years ago. It's been a long time, but I think we might be rewriting the books again. And I'm certainly with the Rabbits. I think they're winning this week.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? The way those markets open based on recent form. That's all about their head-to-head record as opposed to what they've been doing of late. Because I agree, this is disconcerting too, because I'm agreeing with you blokes a lot today, so it makes me nervous. Anyway, but yeah,
it makes us envious because we're not getting any lunch bets out of this, Jimmy.
That's right. They're struggling, the Storm. They have really been disappointing. So I don't know where those performances have coming from, and we all thought, oh, that'll be fine. Harry Grant and Munster come back, and it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't as disappointing as the previous performances, but it's a real concern for Craig Bellamy and the organisation. Losing Pappenhausen robs them of that X factor, and they need to find that somewhere else if they're to make an impact on this semi-final series. I can see them falling out of the top 4 very comfortably. I really could. I think they're absolutely struggling. The Rabbitohs, well, he's 3 from 3, Latrell, in his return. And the way that the Bulldogs played on the weekend, they probably don't beat the Rabbitohs if Latrell's they probably beat the Rabbitohs if Latrell's not playing. Like, that's how influential he was. And again, not just his incredible individual efforts, but this is what he does for everyone else. We've talked about it for 3 weeks now, and he keeps doing it. I think he's going to do it against the Melbourne Storm. Storm travelling at home. Alex Johnson will get minimum 1 try, and it'll be a Rabbitohs victory in my mind.
That's a Saturday night, 7:30 at Homebush. If the rain abates into Saturday, I do think there's points in that game, because the way the Rabbitohs are playing at the moment, they're going to drag points into the game, and the Storm, I think, will try and open things up. So it might be a nice attacking battle.
All right, let's go. Top Sport Titans. The Bulldogs hosting them at Combank Stadium. This is at Sunday. So Josh Adokar, named. Not sure whether he'll play. Aaron Schopp, listed as 18th man. He's returning from COVID. And it's interesting. They say, he'll take the spot of Braden Burns. I thought Burns was okay on the weekend in that game against the Rabbitohs, his old club. Jaden Campbell named on the bench for the first time since round 13. That's a hamstring injury that he is recovering from. So don't know what's happening with AJ Brimson, whether he stays at 5'8", moves to 5'8". Tino Fasua Malaawi is returning into that lock position. So that'll be interesting up against the Doggies forwards. Aaron Clark under the bench, Tanner Boyd named at 5'8". How are these Top Sport Titans going to perform this week, Tristan?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they bring Jaden Campbell into this side, because I thought Tanner Boyd was okay there at 5'8". I thought moving Aaron Clark to play that sort of bench role and lock was a better result as well. So I'll be interested to see what happens, how they shift the puzzle pieces when Jaden comes onto the field, because obviously with Kieran Foran coming next year, that's going to be a question that's got to be answered, how you fit all these players into the side. So $1.58, the Bulldogs, they've been playing so much better over the last 4 to 6 weeks. They look at a really improved football side, and it's amazing how just loosening the shackles can really open up a team's attack. $2.40, the Titans, they've been back very, very heavily. The line's gone from 6 flat into 4, and there's still support for the Titans at that 4. 41.5 is the total points. I think it's going to be a good game, going to be a good one to watch.
How is there money for the Titans? I'm just bewildered by this. Seriously, I think they're just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic in moving blokes around. They were far more gritty last week. But let's be fair, though. The Broncos had 8 or 9 players out. and yet still stole a game late. Their travel record's horrible. Travel record to Sydney. They're covering the start record in this position is only 2 of the last 12. That's as ugly as it gets. And then they come into a team that's got points in it. You know, the Bulldogs now, away from that quagmire game against the Sharks, they've beaten the Eels, they've beaten the Tigers, and then they absolutely stretched the Rabbits last week. And in all 3 of those games, have been prepared to play really positive attacking football. And I put some stats up on social media a couple of days ago, care of the eye test, who's a great data analyst around the game. I mean, since Barrett's moved on, the Bulldogs have gone 150% more points, 130% more tries, 111% more line breaks, more running ball, more tackle busts, more offloads, more post-contact meters. I mean, the transformation of what they're doing in attack has just been excellent to watch. And if they get 3 or 4 tries into this game, how the Titans are going to get close? They are just absolutely struggling to put points on the board. I mean, 12 last week, 12 the week before, 10 the week before, 16 the week before, 6 the week before. I'm all over the Bulldogs. I think they're one of the better bets of the weekend. And Tristan, if you were happy to take the 4, I'd be more than happy to have lunch on it.
I was waiting for that question. I have to go for the Titans. I actually agree with everything you're saying. I think the Bulldogs are going well, but I do see some positive signs for the Titans. But I think the Bulldogs definitely warrant being favourites and firm favourites. But I can't shy away from the lunch bet, Jared. So I'm going to take you on.
Beautiful.
I'm backing up too. Let me on too.
Which side are you on, Jimmy?
Which one do you think, Tristan?
I'd like to think the Titans. Have you got the shirt on?
No shirt on. Look at that. Just the tee. So I'll be going with the doggies as well for all the things that Jared said around what they're doing. I thought they were no Latrell Mitchell. They beat the Rabbits. Okay, so that would continue that good stretch of form. Avarillo's playing well at the back. I actually even think Cole Flanagan had a good game. There were other people telling me, what about his try causes and all this sort of stuff? But anyway, I thought he had a better game. Jeremy Marshall-King was the one that really surprised me, played really well out of dummy half, and maybe there's a freedom that's come with what Mick Potter and everyone else is doing there, but so many positives. Jaden Campbell coming back, it'd be interesting. I wouldn't mind. I would actually like AJ to number 6 and Campbell at the back, and then Tanner Boyd maybe coming from the bench. I don't know to push that Aaron Clark out because of Boyd's versatility. But, yeah, getting on a plane, coming down to Sydney to take on the Bulldogs, not for me. So, mate,
what about
on the -4? Thanks, Tristan.
What about Avarillo at fullback, Jimmy? I mean, I'm not sure if he's a 1, and I'm not sure where he is, whether he's maybe a centre. I don't think he's a 6. But, gee, he's been a fine now that they're using the football, and he's got that great knack of playing down the middle of the park and backing up. And, I mean, he's all of a sudden scoring plenty of tries.
Yeah, I agree with that, and yeah, he certainly seems to be the linchpin to a lot of their attack. But where you said, Jimmy, if the Bunnies were without Latrell, well, if the Broncos were without Oates, Capewell, Carrigan, Haas, and Reynolds, I reckon the Titans might have beaten them as well. So let's not get too carried away with ifs and buts.
That's a very good point. All right, so I'm on for the lunch bet. I'm on. Okay,
Jimmy. Clearly, the Bulldogs are still looking for a number 7. They're also looking for a coach. I mean, I wonder if the Dogs are barking that maybe Jackson Hastings might be on the way out of the Tigers, and maybe the Bulldogs might be a new home for him next season. That might be a nice, good combination with him at 7 and Burton at 6.
Not sure that'll be happening. Not sure. It's not a bad fit, but it's not sure that's going to happen. Did you see? Well, actually, we might as well get to that game. Let's go to it. Final game of the round. This is going to be an inch. Poor old Nod. Tell you what, you can't win a game and now you've got COVID. So how good are things going for Nod at the moment?
And then he can't even get retained as an assistant coach.
Ooh, that's awkward. Anyway,
isn't it?
All right. Jordan McLean is out. So Luciano Leilua is up at prop. Tommy Gilbert, maybe they switch. Leilua goes to an edge and Gilbert into the middle. Probably seems more likely. Dave Nofaluma and James Roberts. They've got some illness and they're named in the reserves. I would just read that sentence and think, okay. Stafford Toa is there. Brent Maiden returning from a 4-game suspension. He's there as well. So we mentioned that Brett Kamali not travelling. So he was overlooked for the new position. So the other two guys that were overlooked for the new position, Ben Gardner and Nathan Kalis, taking control of the side. This is second v 16th, Tristan.
Yeah. And the Cowboys, they'll certainly be looking to they'll be, as much as they had excuses last week against the Sharks, I feel that just the way their mentality is, they'll be looking to really atone for that loss this weekend. So the Tigers might be in a little bit of trouble, I feel. The market's certainly indicating that. $1.08 the Cowboys, $8 the Tigers, 19.5 the line. It's moved out a point, already short of the minus. So this is a perfect situation for the Cowboys up there in an Arvo game on a Sunday. And yeah, I would be expecting they win this game very comfortably.
Yeah, I agree. The worry for the Cowboys right now is that they're short three middle players. Dunn, McLean and Cotter are missing, and that means that we've got Hess and Lilalai and or Gilbert getting pushed up front. It just leaves them a touch short, I thought, of some of the muscle I'd like. If a couple of those guys were playing here, well, you just you'd ring your bank manager and you'd be all over this, because the Tigers travel. When they last travelled, went to Auckland a couple of weeks ago, the Warriors won by 20. Well, there's one hell of a big difference between the Cowboys and the Warriors, and the line's only 19.5 at the moment. You can be all over the Cowboys 13 plus. I think they probably cover 20. I certainly think they're winning. I certainly think they do a little bit more damage to the Tigers. And Jimmy, what happens here with the Tigers? I mean, I don't think Brooks is there next year, but I'm surprised that he's retained his role off some of the offerings he's had in the last couple of weeks. And I'm just not convinced if Dewey's a 6.
Yeah, but it seems the West Tigers are convinced that Jackson Hastings is a 13. So I don't know how Jackson feels about that way as well. It's interesting, right? I was talking to someone the other day about, the physical preparations that these players go through. And, I always thought that Adam Dewey was really good. That was counted a little bit. So, yeah, it's interesting. I know he's not a 1. That's probably too challenging for him physically. He's got the skill set to be a 6. I've got no doubt about that. It may not be with the 7 of Brooks, because I think Brooks is, he's not that organising halfback. They've got an organising halfback. He's playing lock, so that their lock can play front row. It's just they've got so many problems with that club. That's not going to be solved in the course of the next 3 weeks. Mightn't be solved in the next 3 years, and that's why they've given Benji 5 years. But it's just I shake my head at some of the stuff there. Let's go with a minus 19.5. I know they're missing some middle forwards, but what do we get? Scotty Drinkwater, a try and 2 try assists in this game. I would have thought, and that's the way I'd be looking at it. All right, now that we've got that, we better get your tips and we better launch into our best bets for this round, gentlemen.
Jimmy, I'm with the Eels, the Eagles, Roosters, Raiders, Panthers, Rabbits, Bulldogs, Cowboys. Not sure that there's really any major upsets there. I thought the best of the week was the Roosters, but that line's moved significantly. The other one I did like, let's make it the best for the week, the Bulldogs -4 at $1.90.
T?
Yeah, I never like, it's like running upstairs, and I never like taking running upstairs with scissors. I should really finish that quote. But I never like taking big minuses, but I just cannot see how the Tigers are going to stay competitive in this game against the Cowboys. I'm going to take the minus 19.5 for the Cowboys.
Okay. There we go, minus 19.5. Yours was the Bulldogs, Jared?
Yes, Jimmy.
Yeah, okay.
Have you got a 3-part 11-leg staking plan NRL bet for us this week?
Wow, hadn't contemplated that, but what a good idea that is. Hang on.
You don't need encouragement, do you?
No, just because you have a bit of success, I know what it is here. It's tall poppy syndrome, so I understand that.
You've been on fire with your NRL bets.
All right, I'm gonna have a tilt here too. I'm gonna do a 2-legged all up at the line. I'm gonna do the Manly -3.5 against the St George Illawarra Dragons on the Friday night. Into the Friday night, I'll take them on at the -11.5. The Roosters. I think their good form continues, so I'll take the $3.42 that is on offer on that one. Tristan.
Yeah, perfect. We'll lock that one in. That's Manly -3.5 and the Roosters -11.5.
All right. So there are our bets. Now, just before we get to our racing, something new we're looking to implement in the podcast is, and this is where Tristan and Gerard, you can give us some understanding, the pros and the Joes. So the pros knows what's going on, right? Where's the smart money going? And what are the other markets that you're probably not, well, maybe you are very interested in from a bookmaking point of view, Tristan?
Yeah, well, the money that's certainly coming across the board, we've taken quite a bit of action. The one that is always a tricky one to price up in these sort of instances when you got a long price favourite, like what we've got, or a short price favourite, should I say, with a long line in the Cowboys-Tigers game. And it's just trying to understand where how to position these exotic markets. And the ones that we've taken a lot of activity on from the punters in the know at the moment is on the Cowboys to win by a significant margin or to be the first team to score a certain number. So the one that's been very well backed has been the Cowboys to score 40 first, or the first team to score 40. So the market actually at the moment sits that neither team scores 40 at $1.32, the Cowboys at $3.45 and the Tigers at $34. So that one's been back from $3.80 into $3.45 about the Cowboys to be the first team to get to 40. So that's an interesting one we probably haven't discussed about previously, but it certainly is a tricky one to price when you're when you're trying to work out these lopsided games.
Well, talking about the pros and the Joes, so most Mondays, Tuesdays, and during Wednesday, I talked to a few people that I guess I've become good friends with, and I think, and I respect some of their opinions. And certainly the one that's been truckloaded on the back of that since Monday has been the Roosters. That's been the biggest play for a couple of those players. I mean, it opened 7.5 last Sunday. If you got the early look ahead, Monday it was 8.5, and then by Monday night it was 9.5 and heading to 10.5. Now 11.5. I think that closes probably 12.5. The other one that's certainly also been very strong, and bucking against a little bit of the trend about the head-to-head, has been Souths. They've certainly been absolutely whacked. That was as good as 3.5, some places 4.5 on Monday, now 1.5, and it probably closes somewhere close to $1.90. Pick them by game time. So certainly from the pro side of things, I think that's where the money's been. I think normally we'll see a lot of the public money or the Joe money coming into Thursday and Friday, and I think some of those favourites will pick up a lot of that action as well.
All right. Now, what about a racing bet, Gerard? What have you seen for this weekend?
Well, Jimmy, it's damn hard to find a dry track somewhere at the moment, isn't it? But I've gone down to Caulfield. Race 6, I thought number 2, Passero. They scratched it a couple of weeks ago. I think they're saving it for a drier track than what it was going to get. Very nice horse, was very good in the Group 3 CS Hayes, and also close up earlier in the year in the Guineas. Nice run first up, finishing 4th. Back in grade here, second up suits, and I thought it looked one of the better bets of the day. So race 6, number 2, Passero at Caulfield.
All right. My bet for this weekend, pens at the ready. We're going to go to Headquarters, race 6, number 1, per Inaway. Just wondering what the price might be there, Tristan. We've got the apprentice on board in Tyler Schiller, so for Chrissy Lee. So that's a 2 kilo claim. The ex-Kiwi gets wet conditions, so that's going to suit. Looks to hold off the Himalayas, which is probably the main danger. Not quite sure of what the price might be there, Tristan.
About $4.20 it looks like, Jimmy. So these markets are just coming up now. We're recording this just a touch earlier on a Wednesday. So it looks like it'll be about $4.20. I think we pop it on best of the best because that seems to be, particularly on these Saturday options, the best of the best product is generally the best way to go whenever you're having a punt. So that one, I reckon you're going to get around about that sort of price point. So it should be a good one. And I'm going to unleash one today as well. We're going to go back to the well. We're going to go as Doomben's tracks. The weather's been a lot better up here. We got a soft 5 at the moment. I think it might get into that good territory. We're going to go race 2, number 2, Cedar Power. I think it's going to bounce back and be very, very hard to beat up there at Doomben. That's race 2, number 2.
Price?
$4.60 at the moment.
Okay. Jockey report?
No jockey report this one. I've seen a little bit of the work at the yard, and I think it's going pretty well.
How good are the videos sent through by the trainer, eh? How good are they? Gamble responsibly.
Well, it was either that or we wanted a video of Tristan out there at 2:30 in the morning.
You don't want to see any videos of me at 2:30 in the morning, Jared. I can give you the hot tip.
Jimmy, we won't make this a bet, but I do think something stood out to me as an anytime try scorer this week that I did like, and that was in the 6 o'clock Friday night game for any of those standing around the pub. By 5 to 6, get your bet on. I do think that the right edge centre for the Eagles in Kohler up against Moses Mbai, leave me out of that. If he doesn't come up with an anytime try at $2.96 at the moment with Top Sport, it's about $1 more than I thought I would might have been getting. I think that's a great price.
What I might do, since it's, as you say, it's not an official bet, I'm going to create a little unique market, which I can't give you the prices just until we get off the air, because it's going to involve a little bit of calculations. But since we've, you can obviously take your line prices on all of the options that we've tipped up. We've all given our 4 options there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a little couple of unique markets up there for Market Watch listeners. So have a look under the website. It's going to be under the Rugby League heading. We're going to throw Koala in there, Cooler in there, should I say. We're going to throw the 3 racing tips. We're going to throw some lines in there. It's going to be something a little bit different for the punters this weekend. So if you value most of the panel on here, their opinion, then you can jump on there and you can pick and choose who you want to throw in, and should be a little bit of value for the listeners.
So what was that anytime price for Kohler?
$2.96.
$2.96. Now, just to add a degree of difficulty to this, Tristan, if he is receiving the football in his own half when he scores that try, can we get a price on that?
I might be able to throw something up in that as well. So I'll have a look at that one, and then we'll see if we can price up that into the combination. We'll have a few little unique ones here that I think will work well.
I think we did say, Jimmy, you don't need any encouragement.
Yeah. If the wind's coming from the west, I'd really like that option. I'm not sure otherwise. So let's just go the recap, boys. So Jared's best is the Bulldogs -4. That hurts, Tristan. Tristan's best is the Cowboys -19.5, just making a bird of Noddy's great week. I'm going the all up. Manly -3.5 into the Roosters -11.5. To let you know that the pros are loving the Roosters at firstly the -8.5, and now it's out to -11.5. And Tristan, you brought up a good one. The Cowboys to score 40 in from 3.80 into $3.45. The racing tips, race 6, number 2. Jared, I think I'm right in saying it, Caulfield.
Caulfield Passero, yes.
Race 6, number 1 at Royal Randwick per Inaway 420. Doomben race 2, number 2, Seat of Power 460. And then we're all over the anytime try scorer, Tolotau Kohler, and maybe even get a market from outside the 50-metre line. So there we go, boys. All money's raised, and it's all courtesy of Top Sport too, by the way. All money's raised goes to Chris and the team at Pass It On Clothing. So we'll continue with that fundraising effort there. If you're interested in coming to the lunch, get on the link. $125, 2-course meal, 3-hour drink package. James Graham, great auction items, and raising money for Pass It On Clothing. So,
and we'll put those links all out on social media over the next couple of days, Jimmy, and I'll also put some updates tomorrow and Friday of our bets, and a link to Top Sport where we'll have the Market Watch betting options.
And head-to-head on the lunch bet, you and I, Jared, teaming up to just absolutely give it to the Top Sport Titans. So go the doggies is what we say with that one. Thank you, boys.
Thanks, boys.
Take care.